Right. G'day, everybody. We are joined by connoisseur NFT maestro, OSF, otherwise known as Ovi. Ovi, great to have you on the stream today, mate. How's the day been so far? I know you've been extremely busy.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been good. This is the final stream that I have for today. So it's been quite good. I was a bit worried that I would get tired from all the streams, but each one has been quite different. So it's kind of definitely kept me going.
You've we were just talking off line before, and you've done extremely well to still have a voice at this point. I know from doing a lot of talking myself, it can be a bit daunting. So I was actually quite glad I had you last. Either first or last was really the one to have, I think. So last might be able to suck the last little bit of energy and motivation out of you for the day. But yeah, look, great to have you here. Super stoked to have reached out to you and got you on the chat. I followed you for a long time, and our journeys are quite similar. We'll go over that in a second. But yeah, first of all, I just wanted to welcome you here. Thank you for giving us your time. And also to the listeners for tuning in. G'day, g'day, g'day. And hopefully we can give you a great show. And also hopefully I can ask you a few questions that perhaps you haven't got bored with. That was sort of the challenge as well, to try come up with
Yeah,
stuff that you
yeah, yeah.
haven't had to answer yet. So thank you. I thought what I might do, because I've listened to quite a few of your interviews, and I thought I might give a brief description about you, and then I'll ask you the sort of more, probably what I thought was the more interesting question. So for the viewers out there who don't know who OSF is, or OV, or rekd and things like that, I'll give you a bit of a rundown because I was kind of there at the time. So I guess I'll give you my experience with it. Obviously, OSF released a NFT collection called rekd. And now that there sort of spawned out of NFTs. For those who are here in 21, had a good pump, and then obviously they died off a little bit. Bear market came in, everything pulled back, everyone got bearish. It was turmoil on the timeline. We had punks and apes absolutely sending. I know OSF got on board of those. And then we had a major pullback, and obviously everyone started hating NFTs, and there was even NFT collections that came out called that. And then out of the rubble kind of was born an NFT collection, which was rekd. And I think that was about May 22. I think you guys
Yeah.
launched. And yeah, that NFT sort of came out of what was quite a downtime for NFTs, and I think you guys timed it quite well, and you tapped into the culture of just rekd. I know we were all feeling like that at the time. So, you had an NFT collection that went really, really well. And then fast forward a little bit, and you got into where you diversified into beverages, into drinks. And you had your first release, just for the viewers out there who don't know, I believe sold in 48 hours, 222,000, if my number's right, which is massive for Web3. I believe biggest launch in Web3 as far as a beverage, I believe, surely. And here we are now we'll talk about the next release you're going to have. But that was sort of a brief rundown about what you've done and where we are now. And what I wanted to sort of go into is sort of where you started, and was also really similar to me. Now, I think if my research was right, you came in, I think, January 21. You
Yeah,
got
that's right.
started
Yeah.
in the space. So I was February 21. So,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
and what I found really funny from listening to your interview, you got in a month before me, but we also both had heard about Bitcoin prior to joining, which was under the same reasons, which was Silk Road, which I found quite humorous. So I think it took you and me a little bit to probably both
Yeah.
transition from that to getting into the space. So, look, excited to have you here. I thought that was a pretty cool little journey we had, us sort of starting at the same time. And here we are now. Obviously, both of us took different paths. I went down the trader route / streaming route, which you did as well. But then also you went into sort of NFTs and now into beverages. So I suppose my first question for you, now that I've rambled on long enough, and actually let me, for my viewers out there who know I love a beer, it's 10 a.m. here in Australia, but I thought, cheers to you, my brother. Cheers to everyone watching. A Japanese beer. It's not sponsored by Kirin, but ching ching, 10 a.m.
Very
Um,
nice. Very nice.
Ovi, my first question.
That's very Aussie of you to have a beer at
Oh,
10 a.m.
yeah, hair of the dog, we call it here.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
what I wanted to ask you is Ovi, if you could take us through your journey, but mainly how you went from NFTs to then deciding you wanted to launch Rec Drinks, and what sort of sparked your drive in blending Web3 with a physical product, which obviously don't always sort of go hand in hand? But also, while you're answering that question, also feel free to take us through a little bit of your journey in sort of 21, which I know can be quite an emotional chat.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, it's a good question. So, we Wrecked Guy was like a not an accident, but it wasn't something that was intentional. Like, I just sort of spent my evenings and weekends making it on the side, and um, we launched it as a free mint. There was no roadmap. We had no plans for it. In my head, I thought it was just something that I would release and then just move on, and everyone would forget about it after like a week. It was just, purely an experiment. So, obviously when we launched it, which I think was around May of 2022, markets crashed, everything kind of nuked, and I guess people found themselves relating to the idea of being wrecked and getting wrecked.
Yeah.
And so the collection kind of went viral. And I think I remember Snoop Dogg bought a couple of them as well, which obviously helped push it along. And then we really entered this 2-year bear market. And that entire time, our community kind of just grew. It was a bit strange. It was just like, it was a very like satirical, like high banter community. And we were all just kind of like taking the piss out of each other for losing money and getting wrecked. And it was almost like a group of people who wanted to stay in crypto but had nowhere else to go. And this is like a bunch of misfits in this Discord, and that's kind of like what we were really. And but over this time the community grew quite large, and we did a few things that went well, and did some IRL events that were like super well attended. And over time it kind of became apparent to myself and Mando, who's the co-founder of it, that this idea of Rect was more than just the Rect Guy NFT. It was more than just our Discord, more than just the Twitter stuff. It was like um, this whole kind of like concept or lifestyle that a lot of people identified with, and that's when I think we realized we had the potential to make it into something bigger, into like a brand, basically like a lifestyle brand. So I'm just gonna kill that mosquito. That was
Yeah.
kind of,
The tennis racket.
yeah. Um, um, and so, but we were like, to get this bigger and to get this more mainstream, etc. We need to branch outside of crypto and outside of just the 8,000 Retguy NFTs. And so that's when we had an idea to do, okay, let's do some sort of like in real life product, because that's how we can get this Rect brand, the Rect logo, in as many places as possible. And we went to drinks. I mean, drinks really, we just said it because like the guy's drinking drinks, and it was just a random suggestion one day, and we're like, yeah, fuck it, let's just do it. But in hindsight, we liked drinks because they're quite cheap to manufacture and you can mass produce them. So we started out by manufacturing 10,000 drinks. And in my mind, that was like, okay, cool. That's now 10,000 different places. Our Rex logo is going to be held by someone on a can, which you can actually see, touch, even taste. And that's, going to be massively like accretive for our brand recognition. And for the last drinks drop that we did, the first one, we ended up manufacturing and selling out of 222,000 drinks, which is a huge number. And again, like that's now 222,000 times someone's going to pick up a can that says Rect and hopefully drink it and not just not just throw it away. So that was kind of the idea. That's kind of how we moved on to drinks. And I think to add to that a little bit, I think if I woke up tomorrow and I was like, oh, let me just make a drinks company, it's really hard. It's a really competitive market. It's very saturated. Who's going to buy it? Like, I don't have an existing community. I don't have an existing consumer base. But when you're in Web3, it's very, well, not very easy, but you have a good opportunity to build a community and build like Web3 native IP in a very accelerated fashion, just because of the way consumer rewards work here. Like everyone, you get rewarded for participating, get rewarded for collecting, get rewarded for trading, get rewarded for being part of an ecosystem. And that allows you to build like a lot of brand loyalty and following very, very quickly. And then usually most crypto projects stick to like on-chain products, which then over time, fizzle out. But for us, I felt like we had an opportunity to make an off-chain product, but use like the on-chain mechanics to reward a community. And that's kind of how I view it. It's like, okay, we've managed to build this brand and community within Web3 just because we're in Web3. now we have an opportunity to tackle a real world product that I think we could do really well at. And that's kind of how we came to it. And I know the way I say it makes like it seem like it was very well thought out, but
Hmm.
we were kind of just making stuff up as we go along. But in hindsight, I think that's kind of why we, settled on it basically.
Yeah, I've noticed with over my years, speaking to a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners and startups and things like that. One of the main things people have in common who do startups just get things done. And sometimes it's not about having the perfect idea; it's just about getting the idea done.
Yeah,
So kudos to you for actually pushing forward, because sometimes you just have to do it, right? You can't wait for the perfect moment or time; it just never
yeah.
comes, and you can
That's the
procrastinate.
that's the thing. Like, so many people can think of good ideas, and I feel like I've thought of loads of good ideas in my life, but I've never done them. And then someone else goes and does it,
And
and
does it,
then
and
you're
you
like,
go, "I
oh,
had that idea. I could have been a
that's
frigging
my idea.
bazillionaire."
Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's having the idea is only not even half of the battle. It's like
Nah.
10% of the battle. Going out there and doing it is another thing. And that's, for us, it's been a real challenge. But this time around, I was like, I'm just going to actually do it and not just sit on the idea, basically.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you. Kind of touched on it then. I listened to a few of your other chats as well. You spoke about how sort of Web3 has the capacity to, and you said it then, for to get a community to form very quickly, and I suppose achieve or get raving fans really fast versus Web 2. I've been involved in a few Web 2 traditional startups, and you said it before, selling your first few products is really hard. The consumer doesn't know who you are, they don't trust you, and to get more people to trust you, you have to get it in people's hands, right?
Yeah.
So I sort of wanted to ask you, what sort of specific strategies, so people could have something to take away who are listening. How did you engage your NFT community that you already had to help build the success of Rec Drinks? And sort of how did your drink points reward system sort of play a role in building that hype, if at all?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think something that was really successful in 2021 was Bored Apes. And within 2021, Bored Apes did a lot better than CryptoPunks during that time. And why? Because they kept giving you free stuff. If you minted an ape, or if you held an ape, you then got to mint mutants, and then you got an airdrop of mutants, you got an airdrop of dogs, you got an airdrop of other side NFTs, and eventually you got an airdrop of ApeCoin. And eventually the value of those airdrops, diminished over time. But at the beginning, it was like you could just make so much money from holding an ape, and you could end up selling these airdrops and cover the cost of it. But I think what they did well is because they rewarded their community so well, and they weren't doing things like taking, extracting money. They were building this cool stuff and giving people airdrops. People end up being super loyal to Yuga Labs and Bored Apes because they actually changed the lives of many people, including myself. And I think even now, like even after everything that's happened, and they've had their fair share of flack and ups and downs, etc., they still have one of like the most loyal and die-hard communities. Like if you ever, I still see tons of ape PFPs on my timeline, tons of people turn up to these other side hangouts that they do. They have a super insane community, despite everything that's happened. So um, when we started doing Rect, in my mind, when we realized it was an opportunity, it was like, okay, we have to like start basically giving stuff away for free to people to make them feel like there was some value in holding a Rect guy, but also to make them feel valued as a community member. So, Rect guy itself was originally a free mint, um, and then we went on to actually create the company Rect Brands Inc. And we gifted actual equity in the company to our NFT holders. So, of about 3,000 holders, I think we had 1,000 people claim it. And so we now have like 1,000 Fret Guy holders who are all also equity holders in the actual underlying company. And that was something that I think people used to struggle with on the timeline. It was like,
Mm,
I own this NFT, but I'm not benefiting in the upside of what these guys are doing.
yeah.
This kind of has aligned incentives. And now with everything that we do, we just have like 1,000 people out there who maybe probably, I would say like 90% of them don't even own any private equity in any company, but they're now out there like actually owning a piece of this, and they have this motivation and um I guess like desire to make it work and make it succeed. And After that, we did the first rec drinks drop back in October, and you were able to earn drag points for doing various social quests, creating content. You were able to earn points from actually purchasing drinks as well, and those points ended up turning into our rect token, our rect coin, and people ended up making somewhere between 3 times to 8 times their money from purchasing the drinks, depending on where you ended up selling your coin. And it was like, cool, I've spent some money and I've got some actual drinks which I can drink, and on top of that, I got this coin which had real value. And some guys, like, I think spent thousands of dollars on drinks, and they ended up making like, one guy I think made like 6 figures on
Yeah.
on the coin as well, which is kind of crazy. So I think that's another example of, like, okay, in this case, if you buy the drink, yes, you're a consumer because you're generating revenue for the company and you're purchasing a consumer good, but you also receiving some of the ret coin also gives you an entry into the ecosystem
Mm.
and potential upside in what we're doing, if you believe that sentimental value of retcoin can go higher with the success of rec brands. So it's more than just, like, my view is, like, it's every time we sell a drink, it's more than just selling it to a consumer and they go away and drink it.
Yeah.
It's actually about acquiring um, more people into, like, our vision and our community and our ecosystem, not only just as supporters but also as stakeholders, if that makes sense.
Mm.
And I think that's sort of like the main kind of idea of what we're doing, I would say.
Yeah, no, that's really well spoken. I heard you speaking to a guy I co-host with sometimes as well, with Greeny, this morning. Actually, it would have been earliest time,
Mm.
5 a.m. The poor bastard, and
Yeah.
you said that then as well. In that, I suppose with the drinks industry, typically, you go wherever you go, grab a drink, you drink it and chuck it in the bin. Whereas with you guys and your product, there's more. Say, I guess you could call it stickiness, whereby the consumer may buy a product and actually be pulled into the ecosystem, and you may have a customer or a fan for life or a community member, which is really powerful. And that just shows the power of Web3. I wanted to ask, Ovi, I just wanted to ask about the new flavor. Obviously, we've got Abstract Apple coming out, which is from a marketing perspective, I think very smart, and we can talk about that in a minute. I just because obviously I'm very big on Abstract. I've been streaming there for a while, and I think what they're doing there. But I would prefer you to talk about it in a sec. But love what they're doing there, and I think you guys tapping into that is. Yeah, you're on the money, I reckon. But I wanted to ask you just on a more, I suppose, not superficial level, but on a different level, what sort of inspired the new flavor, and was it always a plan to bring out another flavor, forgetting if it was Abstract coming along or anything like that? Was the idea always to bring more to the market, e.g. by flavors or products?
Yeah, that's a really good question. To be honest with you, we weren't really sure what we were going to do next. It
Mm.
was sort of like, here's this big experiment and this crazy idea that we had, I guess, about a year and a half ago. And we never really knew if it was going to work or not until the day of it going live, right? And I think lots of people were skeptical as well. Like, I mean, we raised capital and we managed to close our round in the end, but a lot of people I spoke to were like, "This isn't going to work. This is a crazy idea. Way too many moving parts and pieces and everything." So, I think that had obviously, it had cast some doubts in my mind, but also it kind of made me motivated to get it to work. But um, we never really knew. So, given that we kind of, like, didn't have a fully drawn out plan for what we would do next if this worked out, and it was like people were asking about different flavors, and then we thought about, should we just do like plain still water or just like unflavored sparkling water. We're kind of like trying to figure out, is this a good product market fit? Like, how do we actually market this in the traditional world? um, but then what happened was, Abstract came along, and Luca was leading it, and they're talking about it being a consumer chain. And I was like, well, we're like a consumer brand within crypto, there surely must be something we can do on it. But we just couldn't figure out what we would do on Abstract, because it was like, we have our drinks thing and our rewards thing, but we don't really have an on-chain dApp like most people do. So then we're like, oh, how about we just make some Abstract drinks, like just get the Abstract branding on there, and make drinks, and then allow people to connect to their Abstract global wallet and earn points that way. So um, yeah, we hit up Luca and like, hey, we've got this idea. Like, what do you reckon? And he was, super keen. Uh, and was like, yeah, like, let's just do it. So that's kind of like how we came to that decision. And then it ended up being, yeah, if we're going to do an abstract drink, let's do a new flavor. And we worked with those guys to come up with the flavor that they were happy with. I think Luca's suggestion was make it something sour. So apple was like an
Mm.
immediate thought that came up in our heads. And after that, we have like two more quite big drops coming up after abstract, which will be collaborations as well, with a couple of
Okay.
other projects. So in a way, it's sort of like created some kind of blueprint for us to do more of this collaborative stuff. And
Yeah, like a
it makes
collab
sense.
flavor or something each time. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense because you get to participate in a new community or a different community, which isn't necessarily like our guys. And if you keep giving away a rekd coin with each drop, eventually there's diminishing returns and
Yeah.
people don't really get excited about it. But for this drop, you're able to earn abstract XP with each drinks purchase. You'll be able to earn points from the other guys for the next projects as well. And I think that makes it interesting because you can still be part of the rekd ecosystem, still grow your rekd holding, but you can also, you know, be part of another ecosystem as well. And I think it's one of those things that just is mutually beneficial for both parties. For us, it's great because we get to create and sell more products, and then for other projects, it's like you have this physical aspect of your, you know, of whatever it is you're working on, which is a great, community engagement tool, I think. And we give them supply to have drinks at all their events and everything. And I think it's just a very, very good social engagement tool. And it's going to be cool. Like this time when we did the first drinks, they were all shipped in these like brown cardboard boxes. So
Mm.
when people ordered a lot of drinks, it wasn't really clear what it was. The pictures were like, oh, well, it's just cardboard boxes. This time around, we've actually like we paid a bit extra to get the abstract branded shipping boxes. So when people actually get their
Dang.
delivery, it's
Looks
going to have like
really cool.
it's going to have all the abstract colors on the abstract logo, and that's going to make for like unbelievable social, content. I think.
Like unboxings and things like that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Which is
Leon
something
this
that like,
morning posted he had a box there
yeah,
with the rec logo. Of quite a few, in fact, quite a few people. The timeline has been good to rec drinks, hasn't it? There's been some great photos going up, man.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So I think it's ended up being quite a good, cool thing. But again, it's not like we never really planned this from the beginning. We just kind of stumbled onto it and had some ideas. And so yeah, I'm really excited to do this, excited to do the future drops. But I think for us we can't it's not sustainable to just keep doing these collaborative drops. And I think eventually we will be transitioning to more of like a regular online store that's fully stocked and has a full product range and
Mhm.
be listed in supermarkets and have Amazon distribution, all that kind of stuff. I think we have to go down that path to get bigger. But
Mhm.
we're in the process of doing all of that actually. But for now, these collaborative drops are actually pretty fun because you get to activate like a whole new community and we get to meet like a bunch of new people. Like I've met every person I've streamed with actually. It's the first time I've streamed with them.
Mm.
This is like my 12th, I think. So I've met 12 new people in the last 24 hours, which is pretty awesome. So it's been a good experience, I think, and hopefully we can just pull it off now. We just have to execute.
Yeah, it's probably quite similar. I was just thinking while you were talking then, it's kind of similar when you buy a new NFT or PFP. And even from a content creator point of view, for me, if you want to connect with the community, the easiest way to do it is buy one of their NFTs. So,
Yep.
say you want to get to talk to apes, although the price point a little bit higher, the best way to engage with apes is buy an ape, and then you end up in group chats and things like that. So, Web3 is very like that, isn't it? And the thing that I like about it is people will support you if you come here looking like you're doing the right thing, because obviously
Yeah.
we're so used to people coming here and extracting, which, don't get me wrong, I understand businesses have to make money. That is important, because without that they're not going to create businesses. But it's nice to see a brand come here and give back and also stick around, which I think is probably what you and Mando have done quite effectively in being builders here. You haven't gone away.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of the other builders and brands and things like that, over time, when times get tough, they leave. So pretty big testament to, you came in, January 21, pretty big testament that you're still here. Because there's been some rough times, hasn't there? Like it's been some pretty. I wanted to ask you though, before I go into more of the rewards, I wanted to focus on the abstract stuff a bit later. But I wanted to go over a few of the challenges you had when creating the drinks. I
Yeah.
thought it could be quite funny. I hadn't heard too many stories yet. What were there any challenges you haven't spoken about before in the creation of that? It might be flavors that have gone pear shaped or shite, or arguments in the team, what tasted good or whatever. I don't know if taste is the right thing, but easiest thing for
Yeah.
me to think of. And what sort of challenges you face, and sort of I suppose how you sort of overcame those might be interesting. But I thought people might get a bit of a laugh out of that, because I know nothing about the beverage industry, man.
Oh man, we've had a lot of challenges. We also knew nothing about the beverage industry,
Yeah.
and we're a team of three full-time people, including myself. And I tasked. So we have Mia on her team, and she's been, prior to this, she sort of just did all of our events and stuff. And I was like, Mia, do you reckon you can? And she did some merch for us as well. So I was like, Mia, do you reckon you can create a whole drink basically? So hats off to her for like learning the ropes and getting it all done. But yeah, at the beginning, we had no idea what we were doing. And so we started out by, okay, we want to just manufacture a small amount of drinks. Where can we do it? Because everyone has minimum order quantities. So we found a place where the MOQ was 15K. So we're like, okay, cool. Like we'll go through it. We'll do 15K. And um, what ended up happening was we found out we had to do like some thing called a PCT test to like make sure the liquid didn't corrode the cans and all that kind of
Ah,
stuff. And
yeah,
like
yeah.
we hadn't done that properly, so that set us back by like 3 months. And then we got our cans printed, and we did this thing called digital printing. But the problem with digital printing is you put in carbonated drinks, and when you go through the pasteurization process, the print peels off.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So we had like, yeah, exactly. So we had
Oh,
like everything ready. We got ordered all the cans, had the recipe, had the liquid mix. They started filling them, and then like all the cans just started peeling. And I was like, oh my
perfect.
God, this is disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah. So luckily we got those cans refunded, and then it
Shit.
took us like ages to get. We had to redo the test because we had new cans, and then we then got there. I was like, okay, cool, let's fill 15,000 cans. Mia went up to the factory, and they were like, oh yeah, we've done it. Here's like 9,000 cans. And we're like, well, what happened to the other 6,000? He's like, I don't know. We were like,
You
what?
fell off the back of a truck or something.
Yeah, I have no idea. I still to this day don't know what happened because we were like just a small player, and they don't really care about like the small fry people, and they're manufacturing, helping manufacture like bigger MOQs and that kind of stuff. They just didn't really care. So we just like overpaid for like fewer drinks, and had issues with the sleeves and stuff. It was just like it was a nightmare. Eventually, we got that one over the line, and that was like the first trial run we did. So we thought, okay, we've learned from those mistakes. We should be good now. But then the second round we did, which was the big one that we sold in October, UK drinks absolutely fine. US drinks, we lost about 40% of the yield because like they messed it up in the factory, and they messed up the CO2 levels and everything. And they messed up the sleeving of the cans. It was just a disaster. So thankfully, touch wood, we've actually manufactured all the abstract apple drinks, and we didn't lose any stock in the UK, and we only lost like 100 cans in the US, and it's all been done really well. So I think we've overcome those hurdles. But yeah, at the beginning, it's just stuff that happened where like there's no idea, there's no way we would have known
Nah.
how to predict like that kind of stuff. And we even got this guy who's been advising us, who founded like an alcoholic like canned drink company in the UK, which is pretty big. And even he was like, yeah, I've never seen this happen before. Like, just sometimes this kind of stuff happens. So um yeah, like when you move to like actual manufactured goods, it's a long process, and there's all these different parts of the process, and there's so many things that can go wrong. And if one thing goes wrong, it like kills everything else. And you're also dealing with people who generally, I think we're dealing with very good people now, but at the beginning,
Mm.
you're dealing with people who are very slow to respond. They never pick up. They only have one guy only had a landline phone, never picked up his mobile, only responded to emails like once a week. So we're just kind of, and we're in a space where like everyone's on chat, right? And it's like instant replies. So it was very frustrating working, I think, in an industry where I felt people were very slow to respond and stuff. But I think we found the right guys now to work with, and the last drop has been pretty smooth. So let's hope it stays that way.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, that's not something you think of when you're pouring the liquid into a can and it starts peeling off the can, man. Like, that's the sort of
Yeah,
stuff as a startup that can actually break you. Like, if the company there hadn't kind of looked after you and said, "Well, that's just tough bickies," you're like,
yeah,
"Holy crap, man!" Yeah, that's a nightmare. Were there any like with the tastings and things like that? I was kind of laughing. Was there a big variety on the different tastes? Or some of them you had, did all of you have to get together in a room to sample this? How did you guys get together to actually decide on what you liked? And were there arguments and because variances of taste are quite specific. It's like smells are perfect.
yeah. Yeah, it's a good question. For the first drink, we were like, let's just make something that's not offensive that everyone will like universal.
Yeah,
So
lime's a rock star choice. Yeah,
lime is
perfect for
just,
me.
yeah,
Lemon or lime,
like
vodka. Thank
exactly
you.
just standard. It can work as a mixer, it can work as a standalone drink. No one is like allergic to lime or anything like that.
No.
So it was that was like the perfect option. So we're like, okay, let's do a lime drink. And we went and tested like all the different lime drinks on the market. So we had like Fever Tree, Liquid Death, Sprite, like all these different lime drinks. We tried to figure out which one we liked the most. And then we basically went to the lab where they produce these recipes, and we told them we want a lime drink, but we want something a bit extra in it, which gives it a kick or gives it a feeling where it's a different kind of a drink. And she basically like knocked up this drink. Um, she's like there with all these like different things and potions and stuff, hands us a shot glass. And the first one she made, we all loved. It was like lime and like a little bit of pineapple, which is the current recipe now, and
Ah,
all of us just loved it. So we did a few more variations. We did like a lime and coconut. We did a lime and raspberry. Um, I think we did just like a plain lime as well, and we did like a lemon and lime. And we took away samples and we did like taste testing with friends and family, but everyone really liked the lime and pineapple one, which is the first one that we did. So we got a bit lucky with that one because we sort of hit like a winner instantly to begin with. And then so the apple one, it was similar. We tried apple and raspberry, apple and kiwi, apple and lime, and apple and raspberry, and apple and kiwi were the two that we really liked.
apple and
My
kiwi normally
favorite.
goes well.
Yeah, my favorite was apple and kiwi, like, that was so
Yeah.
delicious, but, the problem is I think kiwi, a lot of people are allergic to it, and I think it's maybe a bit of
Uh,
it can be a bit I think, polarizing in terms of, like, taste, so we thought apple and raspberry is probably a bit safer, but the apple kiwi was really good, like, that was definitely my favorite, but again, it was a similar thing, like, we just drive down to, like, this lab in the UK where they actually design most of the flavors and recipes for, like, most of the biggest drinks companies in the UK. Like it's all done in one place basically. But it's a funny experience because it feels like you're sort of in this like school lab
yeah,
and it's very strange. It reminds me of like going to like second like primary school in the 90s of like, there's like a Bunsen burner there and stuff like
Dexter's
that. Like it's
Laboratory or
yeah,
something, hey, from the
yeah, yeah,
cartoon.
yeah. Yeah. It's not as like high tech or anything as you would imagine,
Uh,
but it's really good. Like to be fair to them, they're a really great team. So um they've made all this possible.
were you, I wanted to ask you as well, were you tempted? Because I know with the Web3 culture and that it's lock in and, stay up for 3 days trading and don't leave the trenches and all that. Were you tempted to go the energy drink route? Because obviously you guys have gone the sparkling water. You've actually gone the pretty much the polar opposite. Actually, it sounds like you've tried to avoid any excess sugar. I think I heard in one interview it's about 4 grams. I don't know if it's changed
Yeah.
since. And I think you've avoided adding any extras as much as you could. Was there a definite decision in deciding to go the healthier route, if I can use the word healthier, versus the lock-in energy drink, high caffeine, get you jacked up? What was the thought process behind that? Yeah, I guess what I'm asking is what made you decide to go away from what I think is probably the easier route, probably with degens, I reckon, who probably just want to
Yeah.
get high and lock in.
Yeah, I think we wanted to make something that wasn't bad for you,
Yeah.
basically, that was healthy, because I think that's a growing market. And I just generally think the average person you speak to wants to remain healthy. Having said that, a lot of people drink energy drinks, and you can get natural energy drinks. You can get other things that help with focus, etc. And this idea of functional drinks is like a massive growth space right now. Like you've had brands like Poppy, Olipop, Ghost
Mm.
Energy, Body Armor all sell or raise capital at valuations in between $1 billion and $2 billion, and they're all functional drinks. So in the first situation, we're like, let's just keep it simple. Let's just do sparkling water. We can manufacture it quickly. It's not going to take us a long time to do. There's fewer compliance and regulatory things that you have to jump over, and it's pretty simple to do. That we've knocked out these flavors super quick. Um, Having said that, I do think the functional space is like a massively, massively growing space, and I do think rekd as a brand is pretty interesting, and especially like our branding and colors and logos, pretty interesting for something that's like maybe like has more of like a workout or a pre-workout vibe, or
Mm.
maybe like a focus vibe. And so um, we thought about energy drinks, but we thought let's keep it simple on round one. But we still haven't done round two, round three, round four, round
Mm.
five, round six, and we've been in for pretty much all of this year. We've been in quite heavy product development on other drinks which aren't just sparkling water, and other products that aren't just drinks. So um, yeah, by the end of the year, hopefully at some point this year, we'll have some new stuff that's coming out, which I think will be interesting in kind of like today's space, because I do think people are interested and like to drink things which give you something, even if it's just like, oh, this has lion's mane, which gives you focus, or this has
That's right.
B vitamins, which keep you more awake, or this has natural caffeine from green tea extract, which is doesn't give you a crash after it. There's a lot of these thing coming to market now, which I think um, there's a lot of demand for, and it's a massively growing market. And I think we're in a good position to capture that, I would say.
Mm. I think, yeah, I've seen just from working in the fitness industry for a long time. You obviously saw pre-workouts have a massive boom back in the day, like Jacked and all that sort of thing. And
Jacked,
I've
yeah,
not,
classic.
you remember Jacked? Yeah, I was around for then. Or
Yeah,
Craze was good too.
yeah,
And I've noticed a real move towards nootropics and focus type drinks, which don't focus so much on caffeine or what I'd call dirty energy, but more on a focus type non-stimulant, which is I suppose you could call it a healthy option. So I think there's a big market for that there. And I guess you guys releasing the sparkling water is probably a smart way, just as far as having a base product with almost very little in that you can then build on, because it's probably a bit harder to go back. If you come
yeah,
out with like a Monster Energy drink with 1,000 milligrams, how do you then tell your
exactly.
consumers, oh, you should just have some water?
Exactly. Yeah. That's the thing, because you have stuff like Monster Energy and Red Bull and all that stuff, which are like Prime as well, which originally had highly caffeinated, really high sugar drinks, and now they have like the light versions or the zero sugar versions of their drinks, or even the same with like Coca-Cola. You have Coke Zero or Diet Coke, but when you do that, it kind of makes your flagship. It makes like your zero sugar drink version seem like not as good as like the original, if that makes sense.
Yes, it's like buying a no alcohol beer almost in a way.
Yeah. Like you started with like the thing that has everything, and then you like would you take things away from it.
Yeah, especially if your branding
Whereas
focuses on it being that one particular jacked up thing, and then you're like, "Oh, if you don't wanna be jacked up
exactly.
anymore," and it's like, "Well, I thought you told me I need to be jacked up."
Exactly, yeah. So whereas for us, it's kind of the opposite. Like we're starting here with like nothing really in it, and then we can start to add things to it, I think. So um hopefully like with each new release and each new drink, we have some more exciting stuff coming, I think, which will get people excited and hopefully allow us to enter some different markets and stuff as well. Because I think
Mm,
another thing we thought about is when we're trying to figure out, okay, how do we market this? When we go to the Web2 space, like which content creators do we approach? So just like a sparkling water, it's difficult to really understand the product market fit. But when you have functional drinks, you have the functions that they're useful for, and then you can look at things like sports, streaming, gaming, trading, all that kind of stuff, which I think it can be like a super interesting market to access.
Another thing I wanted to go into, and we sort of touched on it, before, was, with your success and seeing you guys kind of flip the script going Web3 to Web2 rather than the other way, if that makes sense. How do you see moving forward, sort of Web3 reshaping, reshaping, what's the word I can look for here? Consumer products. How do you see Web3 reshaping consumer products and how they're released? And I suppose what lessons for startup, for people out there right now listening, what sort of lessons could you give that you've learned from rekd and releasing your drinks and all that that you could give to startups, that you've learned along the way?
Yeah, I think Web3 is very powerful because, and the main thing that's powerful within Web3 is this idea of consume to earn. And I think
Mm.
we've spoken about it so much now that it's become a bit of like a cliche and maybe even a bit cringe for me to even mention it.
Uh,
And people talk about that, vape to earn and drink to earn, and it's kind of become like a bit of a meme, hasn't it?
uh,
That being said, like with Web3 and with tokens and with airdrops and finding ways to reward activity and incentivize participation, you do end up rewarding people who come to your ecosystem with money, with actual real money that someone can convert, sell, cash out, and have real money. And that's the difference between Web3, in my opinion, and Web2 and Web1 and traditional consumerism. Like the difference within Web3 is like, okay, you're coming to consume my product and boost my numbers, and we're dangling this airdrop in front of you or this token in front of you, and you'll get to earn that as a result. And that token or that airdrop theoretically could have zero value for us. It's just a meme coin. There's no, cash phase to it or anything.
mm,
But
mm,
it's also the intangible value of the brand, I think. And um, that's when I think it starts to get interesting. So that's, in my opinion, like that's how Web3 can play a stronger role in consumer products. And we haven't seen it done that much in things that are actually off chain. You've seen it done happen loads on chain activity, but nothing off chain. So I'm kind of like interested to see how we end up doing on that. And then in terms of advice for people, starting out or trying to build something, and got asked this question a couple of times today, actually. But the main thing I would say is a lot of people focus on products to begin with, and it's like, here's my product, whether it's a DeFi protocol, whether it's a drink or a face cream or whatever it is, they focus on product. They focus on trying to make the best product possible, the best user experience possible, which is great. And once they've built that, then they focus on marketing. But when they get around to marketing, it's like, okay, what do we do now? Oh, we have to pay some influencers, or we have to spend some money speaking on, like podcasts, or we have to spend money on adverts, and then hopefully our adverts are good and someone will hear it or read it or see it and come and consume our product or come and use our protocol, whatever it is. I think that's a really hard way to, unless you have like the apps something unreal or unbelievable product wise, it's really hard to gain traction and get
mm,
users on board. An easy way to do that, in my opinion, is to not only just focus on the product, but focus on your community and growing a community and starting out with community to begin with. Um, that way, as you grow and as you build, you have people who have bought into the story and who have been there from the beginning, and you can, I don't know, get people involved or give people responsibilities or reward them, like make them feel like, okay, you were early, you get to have, this amount of airdrop, or you get to have this, whatever. That way, when you start to roll out new products, we start to roll out new things, you have an existing support base and an existing community to help champion it and help drive it and help market it. You're not starting from zero, you're starting from here basically. So um that's, I think, for me, something that's been a big part of like our success. We weren't drinks first, we were like
mm,
community first, and then we had drinks. And I think that was the right way to do it,
mm.
for us. Because if I woke up tomorrow and I was like, okay, I'm just going to start sparkling water, like I'd have no chance, right? Like who would
No,
buy
you
it? It's
weren't
a
there.
super competitive industry. So um, that's what I would say. Like if you're starting something new, figure out a way to build a community around what you're doing, um, and then think about product next.
Yeah, no, absolutely brilliant. No, I love that. I wanted to dive in just a little bit more in regards to Abstract and what you guys are going to be doing with them. With your, so what I guess what I'm trying to get at, obviously I'm on Abstract. I'm trying to earn as much XP as I can.
Yeah.
I'm there every week. Me and Greenie are comparing notes, how much we've earned, and I'm grinding on the games and all that sort of stuff. How can people earn XP buying this drink? Run us through what I guess what the rewards are with everything to do with this, whether it's Abstract or not.
Yeah. So make sure you're signed up to rewards.vectdrinks.com, which is our rewards platform, and
Hmm.
if you're not already registered, you can register with your Abstract Global Wallet as well. Which reminds me, we have a code to give away as well on the show.
Awesome.
So
I was going to
yeah,
ask about that.
yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that shortly.
Hmm.
Um, and when you get onto the rewards platform, there are all these different social quests you can do to earn points. It's just really basic stuff like follow this account, retweet this, etc. But what the other thing you can do, you will be able to do is also purchase drinks through that platform as well. So you can either purchase drinks through the rewards website, or you can purchase drinks through rekd.com.
Hmm.
And if you purchase them through the rewards website, you'll automatically get the points credited to you for every drinks purchase that you make. If you do it from rekd.com, you can claim the points afterwards by entering a code, basically.
Lovely.
So you'll get drank points for every drinks purchase. And when we did that last time round, those drank points ended up converting into Retcoin. But you'll also get abstract XP as well for every drinks purchase as well. So you're kind of getting like 2 times, well, not necessarily 2 times the rewards, but you're getting, two different reward buckets here from both
Mhm.
Rect and abstract as well. So should be pretty simple, and you can buy drinks in crypto, like you can buy it in Sol, ETH,
Perfect. Yeah, perfect.
USDC, Bitcoin, yeah, or you can buy it, with your credit card as well. So and fiat payments as well. So should be pretty straightforward.
So with those, if you jump on the rewards page, which guys, I will link down the bottom after this, do you earn XP for doing those sort of challenges as well? Do you? Follow this
You
person, or that is that
you
XP
don't
reward in there?
you don't earn abstract XP, but you do earn um, rect points. Basically, you earn rect points for doing them. Yeah,
Yeah, beautiful.
and
Yeah, no, I'm pretty pumped, man. I'm trying to get to gold at the moment, man. So I've got to do everything I can to get to gold.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Which reminds me, we have a code to give away. So
Let's go.
if you guys are on the platform, you can use. There should be a quest, which is the quest for this stream,
Hmm.
and it will ask you to enter a code. So the code, I believe, is coin. Pretty simple one.
Coin.
COIN.
I'm just putting
Yeah.
that
So
in the
head over
chat
to
now.
yeah, exactly. Head over to rewards.recdrinks.com and use the code coin to redeem.
All right, legend. Thank you very much. And I wanted to ask, what's next for Rec Drinks? You kind of semi covered it early, but what are you guys wanting to bring out new flavors, new products? And probably the thing I was kind of more interested in out of that question, what is one of your sort of big goals for the next, say, within the next 12 months that you want to achieve for Rect in particular?
Yeah, I think for us, it's definitely new products. I think we will have new flavors for sparkling water. We'll have, as I mentioned earlier, we'll have different types of drink. We'll have different types of products that aren't drinks, and we want to have merch as well. But we want to have like good quality merch, like not
Mm,
not the cheap stuff. But I want Rex to be just this whole like lifestyle brand where you go on to recdrinks.com and there'll be a whole wide product range that you can, you know, access and buy and be part of. And I think, if you think about something like Red Bull or Monster Energy or, Ghost Energy, they aren't just drinks brands, right? They're lifestyle
yeah,
brands.
it's extreme
Um,
sports and things like that with
Extreme
Red Bull.
sports, yeah, they've done super well. So I think we want to be something similar, but we want to be the Web3 version of it. I think that's the difference. Like none of these guys are really in Web3. I think Liquid Jet had an NFT, which is basically at zero,
Yeah.
and these guys aren't crypto native, whereas we are. Like, we started out in crypto and started out in Web3. So being like a Web3 version of one of these guys, I think would be, um, I think is a massive, massive opportunity. I do think we can get there and achieve it, and we've had a strong start to be able to do that. So that's sort of like the overall vision. And within the next 12 months, I've set myself a goal like let's try and sell 1 million cans. Let's try and
Yeah.
sell 1 million drinks, and we're a quarter of the way there now. I think we'll get to about half of the way there if we can sell out of this abstract drop. But if we can do it, that's the same number of drinks Red Bull sold in their first 12 months of operation. So that would really be like an amazing, amazing number if we can hit that, because it's such a big number. And I think we can make some good headlines. And if we can achieve that, then I really do feel like the rest of it will start to fall into place, and it will get very exciting. So as I said, we've got 2 more big drinks drops coming up after abstract, and then
Oh,
we'll have
really?
more products. Yeah, we'll have more products coming out after that as well. So the pipeline is pretty stacked. There's definitely a lot coming. We just have to execute now and get it all done, basically.
Yeah, yeah, so good. Did you? Okay, million. Okay, million products. Another thing, and this is probably more on a personal level for me asking. I actually didn't have this in my list of questions, but
Yeah,
since I've got you, I wanted to ask you because this is something I think everyone who maybe is a business owner or goes out on their own and wants to build something that's theirs. What's your advice to people, putting yourself out there? And I guess my question is, do you ever have moments where you suffer or have imposter syndrome, where you sort
yeah.
of sit back and everyone I've spoken to pretty much says yes to this, but I just wanted to get your experience because I know I get it sometimes as well, where you look around the room and go, how the hell did I get here, and why am I here, and who let me in? Who let me in this room? I
Yeah.
shouldn't be here. Tell me, I mean, in the past or currently, do you have moments like that, and how do you sort of deal with those moments of doubt when you're under pressure, you're doing a drinks beverage, there's people that rely on you and count on you. Yeah, just run me through that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like I get it all the time. And the thing about crypto, this industry, is it's so volatile, right? You'll have moments where things are going up like crazy, and you'll have moments where things will crash. And we go through those times like, a few times every year, basically. So, when times are tough, you're a little bit like, oh shit, like what am I actually doing? Like I've sort of like left my job, left a good job to
Yeah,
come
there you
into
go.
something which is like full of speculation and vaporware, and I've just created this thing out of nothing, and who's to say it will still be standing in a year's time, and it won't just completely fail. And yeah, like I don't know anything about drinks, or I've never started a business before. This is like my first business. I've never been an entrepreneur. Like how am I qualified to do any of this? So I go through that a lot, I think. And it becomes more prevalent when markets are down and you're just like, oh shit, is stuff just going to crumble? But I think for me, like I've always liked challenges, and I've always challenged myself both like physically, sports, like mentally. I'm always like trying to find the next thing to do. And this is kind of like what I've come to. Like this is my next big challenge. Like, can I start a company, something I've never done before, and grow it and make it really big and make it successful and make it compete with the greats? Like, that would be an awesome thing. So that's like my challenge I've set myself, and I'm definitely the type of person where like I just don't give up until I get something
Yeah,
done, and until I successfully achieve something. Doesn't matter how long it will take me. I'll just keep going until I get it done. And that's how I feel about this. It's like, okay, yeah, maybe I don't have as much business experience or entrepreneurship experience or drinks experience or even crypto experience as other people out there, but I do have a lot of resilience, and I do have a lot of self belief. So that's, in my opinion, that's all I need to carry me through and somehow get it done. I think if you believe you can get it done, or if you know deep down you won't stop at anything to get something done, you will get it done. And
that's right.
so far, that's worked for me my whole life. So hopefully, it will work for me on this one as well.
Yeah, you've got to have an almost unhealthy determination or relentlessness
Yeah,
as an entrepreneur, to the point where some people might even tap you on the shoulder and go, "Man, are you okay?" You might need to take a bit of a breather, but you just
yeah,
know you've just got to keep sprinting until you achieve your goal. Look, before I let you go, I also want to ask you. It's another bit of another selfish question because I know you and
yeah,
Mando
yeah. Go
talk about
for it.
trading a lot, and this is for my viewers that are big on trading. Look, this can be anything you want to talk about, but is there anything at the moment that's exciting you in Web3/trading? Is there, what's on your radar at the moment that's really exciting you as far as crypto?
Yeah, I've spoken about AI coins quite a lot,
Yeah,
and I started buying stuff, I guess, like a bit too early. Obviously, a lot has crashed down.
yeah.
Yes, some coins are still down like 90, 95%.
They're
But
pumping
I
today,
do
though.
believe
Yeah, they are, I think.
pumping today, yeah, the pumping this week, they're all up like 50 to 150% off the lows. So I do believe that's a really good buying opportunity. I do believe some of these, possibly even meme coins or maybe some altcoins that are down so much. Um, like I do think we'll see new all-time highs on Bitcoin this year. I think tariff stuff will blow over, and I think the Fed will actually be quite conducive to cutting rates. And I think all the fears and everything in the market just completely overblown. So you have an opportunity to buy some of the stuff which is down like 80 or 90% now. the problem you have in crypto is some stuff never comes back, right? It goes down 90%, and maybe it rallies a little bit with the market, but never really truly comes back and underperforms, and it gets um, overshadowed by new coins. But I think with the AI stuff, you had this huge run at the end of last year, and then everything crashed very quickly. Um, I just don't think that's a sector that will have like a one and done kind of thing.
Agreed.
And AI is such a strong narrative, like in our everyday lives. People talk about AI all the time, and that was the first. The AI agent thing was like the first use case of AIs where people could actually see and feel the products as if they were tangible. Like AI XBT on the timeline, everyone saw that, and people are like, "Oh, cool! Like I actually get this now." So all those guys have been like building and developing their products and services, and the fact that they've actually rallied with the market on this bounce up and
Yeah.
bounced off of those quite aggressively tells me that if we do continue to go higher, that is a sector that will bounce back, in my opinion. And that's something I'm quite excited about. So, I mean, for me, I've been averaging down on it quite a lot, and I think I've tweeted about it, and had some bad early prints that were bad, but now finally, I think a lot of my DCAs are now in the money, and are probably
Mhm.
like actually up P&L on a couple of them. So, um, and that's I think it's just that's like my bet for like the 5 or 10x trade. It's not a guaranteed thing. It's obviously cut doesn't come without risk, and the
Mhm.
safest thing is to like own Bitcoin. But that's kind of like my shout for something that I think that could potentially 10x.
Something a bit risky. No, I'm of the same thought process as you. I think the tariff's a little bit overblown. I think I'm the same as you. I think we'll see an all-time high. It may come towards later in the year. Um, it's been interesting watching the timeline kind of capitulate when Bitcoin pulled back to 74,000 and seeing everyone talk
Yeah,
about bear market and it's all over. And a lot of "I told you so's" came on the timeline. But
yeah,
I'm like you. I'm still very bullish. So hopefully the people who are listening are sort of DCAing into Bitcoin. And look, shout out to AI coins. I agree. I've seen them bounce back. But look, OSF, I just want to say, look, big thank you. I reached out to you and said, hey, could we have a chat? And you graciously said
yeah,
yes. So, man, been a follower for a long time, so bit of an honor to have you on my show. But bit surreal. It was funny, just blow a bit of smoke up his ass right now. I was telling my wife last night. Or actually, when you responded to me, I was like, oh, I've got OSF jumping on the chat with me. And it was one of those moments where, and that's why I spoke about imposter syndrome, one of those moments where you're like, holy shit, man, you know what I mean? So, man, I just want to say thanks for jumping on. It's been a good chat. Hopefully we chat again, and hopefully we can chat again in a year and you've hit those million units. That would be good. But
yeah, absolutely.
thanks for your time, brother. All the best with your launch. And thanks for everyone tuning in. And make sure you give OSF a follow, Rec Drinks a follow, and in the description, guys, everything you need to follow. So, brother, thanks again. Any plans for the
Appreciate it.
day?
Yeah. Well, it's 8 p.m. where I am right now, so I'm gonna go grab some dinner and probably chill, I think, and
Yeah,
then
bro, you deserve it.
back on it again tomorrow. So
Thanks, my man. Look, I'll let you go. You go and rest up, have a drink and chill. And look, hopefully we speak again in the future, and I'll see you on the timeline, my man.
yeah, definitely. Thanks a lot, man. Have a good one.
Thanks, brother. Catch you, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.